They start receiving more fire. He jumps for cover. And then back to the book. I climbed back on the path, shaken but unscathed. Within minutes, I had another surprise. As I approached an opening on the right side of the hedgerow, I heard someone moaning. Crawling carefully through the opening, I came face to face with a young German paratrooper who had been hit by a large chunk of shrapnel. He had a very serious upper thigh wound, and his left trouser leg was bloody and torn. This was my first encounter with the enemy up close. The German paratrooper is a fierce and fanatical warrior, easily distinguishable by his round helmet and baggy smock. My first reaction was to put him out of his misery and keep going. I believe he knew what I was thinking. He begged tearfully, "Comrade, bitte," which means friend, please. He was an impressive-looking young soldier, about 19 years old, my age. He was as filthy as I was, with long, brown, stringy hair. I'd always thought most German soldiers had short, blonde hair. He had an athletic build, about 5 feet 10 inches tall, about 180 pounds, and a handsome face. I suspended the promise I had made at the beach about not taking any prisoners. I thought that was then, and this is now. I just couldn't shoot a wounded human being at point-blank range. I made sure he didn't have a weapon hidden on him. Then I tied his belt around his upper thigh, which stopped the blood from gushing. I gently swabbed the dirt from his wound and applied sulfa powder. His wince turned to a forced grin. He was in pain, so I gave him a shot of morphine and a drink of water from my canteen. Then I let him have one of my Lucky Strike cigarettes and lit it for him. As I left, he smiled weakly and said in guttural broken English, "Danke. God bless. Good luck." That changed my thinking about taking prisoners. I still hated the enemy, but I couldn't kill one at close range, especially if his hands were up. I sent one of our medics to finish what I had started. I hoped the German would recover, and that his war was over. That's a compassionate human being right there.
Yeah, doesn't it kind of, in a way, put it into perspective, but more shed light on potentially the overall attitude where you're fighting a war and the enemy is more this entity of an enemy. You know, it's not like, I'm going to kick this guy's. I mean, I'm sure it's like that sometimes. It's
not personal. Yes.
Yeah.
And the U.S. and the military, and we still do this, they're going to dehumanize the enemy as much as they can to make it easier for you to kill them.
Yes.
That's why you call them krauts. That's why you call them dinks. That's why you call them whatever the slang, you know, which would now all be considered racial terms or politically incorrect terms. There's a reason. They're trying to dehumanize these other people. They're trying to dehumanize the enemy so that you can more easily kill them. And when you come face to face with them, all of a sudden they become human.
Yeah, isn't that crazy though? Like this whole crazy thing, is probably the craziest thing imaginable for this guy. He comes face to face with a guy that you know, kind of in between the bullets, so to speak.
Right.
And he's face to face with this person, and then really what the whole experience was reduced to in that moment is this one person helping another person, you know? And then and it impacted both of them, obviously, you know, where the guy was like, hey, God bless, almost like, hey, man, we're in this war. I dig it. Almost like a football game or something. Yeah. Like, hey, man, I dig it. Mutual, you know, we're on different teams. Hey, good luck. He told him good luck in a war. So, man, that whole human factor when you're exposed to it, even with the enemy, dang, that's got to be strong, huh?
Yeah, definitely can be. I mean, in World War I, there was times where, and this is really famous, there was times where they got out of the trenches and played soccer on Christmas Day against each other.
Oh, yeah.
And then the next day go back to slaughtering each other.
You know how crazy that must feel in this weird way? That must feel so good, you know, to be like like, you know, like you ever gotten, like when you're a kid or even as an adult, when you get in a like an argument with someone real bad, maybe your friend or not, whatever, you get a real bad argument with them, and I don't know, it lasts a day or two or a week, I don't know, whatever, it's real bad, and at the end you guys make up and you guys are like back friends again. It's almost like, man, it's such a good feeling, maybe because of the contrast, or I don't know, maybe because I don't know, but it's like, it has to have like that kind of feeling when you're in this crazy war. You're like, I hate this, so much hatred and just aggression and opposition.
And also, you got to remember, there's plenty of guys and there's plenty of Germans that got smoked right there without a second thought.
Yeah.
And he just had that moment. And maybe if that guy would have looked a little bit different or acted a little bit differently,
or something happened more quick, like faster or something, you know, it just slowed down just for that second and sucked them both right in.
Who knows what happened later? The next people that came, the medic might have gone over and said, wait, you sent me over here to work on a German?
Yeah.
That could have happened too. You just never know.